Dave Weinberg, Press of Atlantic City, is covering the Eagles and Cowboys. Doug Peterson speaks today. And, Dave, it looks like Doug Peterson's going to have a new toy back at his disposal against Dallas this weekend.
Right. I don't know if it's a new toy, but it's an old toy. But, yeah, a good toy in Darren Sproles, yep. Looks like he's finally going to get back in the lineup after missing 7 games.
All right, so give us your insight on what he brings that this team has possibly been lacking. We've been going back and forth about, is this team's problems on offense or defense? And, realistically, they're not scoring as much this year as they did last year. Will he help them, coupled with Golden Tate, get them closer to that 28 points they were scoring a year ago?
Yeah, I mean, if he's healthy, which he seems to be, then, yeah, he gives them an element that they haven't had, which is one of those breakaway running backs. You see like Wendell Smallwood and Corey Clement have done a half-decent job in what they've been asked to do, but none of them can really kind of take it to the house, score on an 80-yard run, which is Darren is certainly capable of doing both as a runner and a receiver. So you get him back in that lineup, like you said, with Golden Tate. That gives them 2 extra weapons for Carson Wentz to have at his disposal.
With Golden Tate, they signed him in the bye week, and he gets himself acclimated. I know Doug talked a little bit about that today, but how do you think they end up using Tate? Did he play his hand a little bit? Because you got Aguilar, who likes the slot. Tate apparently does a lot of work in the slot. You got Jordan Matthews, who's a slot guy. So where does Golden Tate fit in Sunday against the Cowboys?
Sunday, I'm not sure how much of a threat he's going to be. Both Doug and Carson were mentioning how it's a kind of like a patient process for him to develop that rapport with Carson, plus learn the offense. So I would imagine he'll have a limited role. Whether he's going to be in the slot or the outside, I'm really not sure. I mean, he's certainly a valuable addition, but I don't know that he'll have an immediate impact. I think maybe they'll just give him a handful of plays to go with and then continually build it from there.
How different is this offense going to look as the season progresses now, Dave? I mean, Darren Sproles is back. Golden Tate is back. Like you just mentioned, I don't know how much Golden Tate's going to be involved in this offense immediately against the Cowboys, but is Doug going to loosen up a little bit as far as the run plays go this Sunday against Dallas with Darren Sproles back, or do you think it's going to be more of the same, at least for this week?
I'm not really sure. I would expect it to be more balanced. I would hope it would be more balanced, only because of the fact I would expect them to maybe jump to a fairly early lead against Dallas. Maybe take command of the game a little, in the first half, and then be able to use the run game to burn some clock and have more balance in the offense, I think. But I'm kind of hesitant to give to say that the offense is going to be that much better, only because I'm not sure what the offensive line is going to look like. That's the key to everything. You still have Lane Johnson. He's supposed to play on Sunday, but he's battling some injuries. Jason Peters hasn't been Jason Peters. It seems like the whole offensive line has kind of had their struggles. So until they get that fixed, then I'm going to withhold judgment on how good this offense can be.
We talked about it right before you came on, just joking about how nice it was that the Cowboys lost and how the Eagles fan base always enjoys that, and they're kind of a laughingstock right now. But just to give the listeners some more insight on the opponent that they're facing in the Cowboys, what's something that you think the Cowboys do very well, if anything at all? How can they make this a close game? I mean, you kind of just gave me the answer right there. If it's
They run the ball. I guess Ezekiel Elliott is the guy who everybody could point to as the person who could, if they can get him going, or if he can, start to take over the game. The Cowboys hang on to the football, keep the Eagles' offense off the field, make it a low-scoring game. Then I could see them having a shot. But quite frankly, I think the Eagles win this rather easily.
One thing, Dallas does play pretty good defense, right? I mean, that's something that they are pretty good. They get that game last year was 9-6 or something at halftime, and then the Eagles kind of just pulled away, and that was really indicative of who the Eagles were last year. That's my concern, Dave, is that this Dallas team, much like Tennessee, has the ability to make the game ugly.
Yeah, they do. They do. The only reason I'm favoring the Eagles as much maybe is the time factor, the fact that the Eagles have had a week off. Cowboys are coming off a Monday night game, have to go on the road. The Eagles are, well rested, obviously. I just think they're going to be much sharper and more and healthier. And I'll be really surprised if Cowboys make this a game. I just would.
You look at the injury front. Jason Peters has been banged up a lot, but now Lane Johnson on the other side. He's been banged up. What do you see? Number one, do you think Lane Johnson ends up playing? I know they didn't rule him out yesterday. Jeff Stoutland said, hey, I wouldn't be surprised if he tried. And what do they do at the tackle spots if Peters goes out at least once or twice a game, it seems like. Does Vaitai start at right tackle if Lane can't play? And what happens if Peters has to go out? I mean, there's some very intriguing possibilities at the tackle spots.
Yeah, there is. Fortunately for them, they faced this kind of situation before in the last couple games. I know they're expecting Lane to start, which I'm a little surprised at, given that these knee injuries generally take a couple of weeks to heal. But Doug seemed to indicate today that he's expected him to be able to go against the Cowboys. I know how long he lasts. What they usually do traditionally, what they've done is they'll start Vaitai at right tackle. Then if Jason goes out, they'll move him over to the left side. They'll put Isaac Samalo. They'll switch him from guard to right tackle, and then they'll put in Wisniewski at guard. That's kind of the way it's been working. Because they've had situations where both Johnson and Peters have been out of the game, and that's the way it works. So I think that's kind of like the rotation they'll be relying on if they have to.
Dave, sticking with the injury front, how do you think this secondary is going to look Sunday? Anything different? I mean, Jalen Mills now banged up with the foot. How do you expect Doug to move forward, and Jim Schwartz with the secondary?
That's a really good question. I'm not real sure because it doesn't look like Sidney Jones is playing. Yeah. It doesn't look like Jalen Mills is going to be ready to go. So I guess you're going to see a lot of Rasul Douglas. Even though he was in the doghouse earlier, I guess they're going to have to, find a way to get him back on the field. I'm assuming they're going to keep Avonte Maddox at corner. I mean, at safety. Although there's a possibility he might move back in the corner. I don't know. It's they don't have a whole lot of depth there, and they have some issues. So it's going to be. I think Jim's going to have to get pretty creative back there.
Yep, and they lose, obviously, Derek Barnett on that defensive front, but they do potentially get Timmy Jernigan back. Maybe not this week, but if not this week, it looks like he will be able to contribute. What do you think he brings to this defense that they've been lacking?
Well, according to Jim Schwartz, he mainly brings an infectious smile.
That's what they're missing.
Yeah.
He's got the big old gold grill, right?
Yep, that's right. And he's going to get. He has a little different element to them as far as pass rushing is concerned from the inside. He's able to collapse the pocket a little bit, it seems like, and is able to keep teams from concentrating too much on Fletcher Cox. I mean, you have Haloti in there now, who's pretty much a run-stopping kind of guy, and then really nobody behind them. So the quicker they can get Jernigan back in there, the better off they're going to be because they're really lacking depth on the inside.
I know when this team gets a little healthy, they're finally getting Sproles back. They got Tate, it seems that they're finally, after this bye, do you anticipate, Dave, seeing the Redskins lose, Dallas lost, do you anticipate that Philly starts to kind of catch Washington and then pull away from them?
I don't know that they're going to be able to pull away from him only because I think the schedule gets pretty tough towards the second half. They got to play the Saints in a couple weeks. They now have Des Bryant out there. Then they got to play the Rams. Houston's not going to be an easy task. So there's three really tough games right there. And I'm not really ready to just dismiss the Redskins quite yet. I think they're going to be hanging around for a while.
Yeah, I was a fan. I like the Redskins too, but they took some serious blows to their offensive line. I mean, you lose your two starting interior guards. I was with you. I thought they were in it for the long haul. Their schedule's not very tough, but losing those two guys might be too much to overcome, man.
Yeah, that could be. You're right. But I don't know. I just don't know how all the parts are going to fit together with the Eagles. Like, theoretically they're healthy, but they are battling some injuries in some spots. Like I said, the offensive line still hasn't performed up to expectations. I don't know what Sproles has left in the tank. We've only seen him for one game. Hopefully he'll be able to revert to the form that he showed before he got hurt last year. So So, I mean, there's a lot of unanswered questions with the Eagles. You know, if everything comes together like it did last year, despite the injuries and everything, then they certainly can make a run. But I think it's going to be a tough road for them down the stretch of the second half of the season.
Yeah, as you tweeted at Press AC Weinberg, based on today's game, Eagles virtually no shot at beating Saints or Rams, especially on the road. Well, we know it's going to be very far-fetched to get one of those teams at home. So essentially you're saying no repeat.
As of now, I don't see it happening. I mean, they're certainly capable of winning the NFC East, but going and maybe even winning a first-round game. But beyond that, I mean, if they have to go through New Orleans and through LA, I don't see that happening.
All right, Dave Weinberg, Press of Atlantic City. Eagles getting ready for Dallas week, and that game, of course, Sunday night right here on 97.3 ESPN. At Press AC Weinberg on Twitter. Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it.